authenticity is very much a person who lives in alignment with their meaning, with their purpose, with a sense of self-awareness, with an accurate appraisal of their strengths and their weaknesses, and yet don't allow the strengths to escalate them into grandiosity, and don't let the perceived weaknesses allow them to fall into a pit of despair. They tend to be relatively well emotionally regulated, in fact, very well emotionally regulated, however, are able to engage in appropriate and vulnerable shows of emotion. So basically, they're very self-possessed people. Oftentimes, they present as quite serene, I guess, because they're good. They're good. Authentic people are interesting because stuff doesn't tend to get under their skin as much, because they're good. Like, they're not necessarily rich, they're not necessarily at the top of their game. They're just sort of authentic. And I've done another video on authenticity in general, and I can think of one gentleman in particular I met once, and the nature of his work is just incredibly authentic. It was very peaceful to be in his presence, and he was just really aligned with his meaning and purpose, and he was at peace. Now, what happens when that encounters narcissism? Okay, man or woman like that? It's very, very interesting, because at one level, authentic people are pretty unflappable. Things don't really get to them because, as a rule, people who are very authentic don't tend to personalize stuff very much, right? They'll say, that's a fair criticism, or yeah, that's a lot of noise that person's making, but they don't make it like, what did I say? What did I do? Like, there's not as much of that, because they're able to say, they might have even had, and again, one thing I want to make clear is they might have even had very difficult lives. Like, authentic people aren't just people walking around the world never having had trauma or difficulty in their lives. Sometimes they've experienced tremendous difficulty in their lives, and they just keep going. And so they have, they'll even say like, this is probably not a good place for me to be, because there's a lot of loud noises, and I know that can be, that can really actually, I don't experience that well. So I think I'm just going to actually absent myself from the situation. And they don't care too much what other people would think. They let that vulnerability be expressed, and they don't worry about how it'll be judged. So again, that's what I mean by that very self-possessed sense. So when they encounter a narcissist, it gets really, really interesting, because not only does it not get under their skin, they kind of don't fall for it, right? So there's a wisdom there. And so what I've seen authentic